I was seizing for 12 minutes. I collapsed in my chair and woke up in the hospital. Kind of to take me back to a time where I wasn't happy, didn't have brotherhood or friendship. I was really struggling, not taking care of my body. It took a toll on me, which eventually caused me to have 2 grand mal seizures a couple years ago. It was until 3 years ago or so when I met Tyler Hall. He invited me to the Levels retreat. That retreat was one of the most life-changing experiences I've ever had in my life. Primarily breathwork. I had this vivid experience of myself meeting my younger self. I was able to wrap him in my arms and tell him that he's enough. And it was the most healing because I'd never felt that I was enough. Coming out of that breathwork, it was incredible to be able to have that feeling of, you know what, you are enough. You can change your life and provide more for your family than just what you're currently doing. So since then, I was 270 pounds, and since then lost 50 pounds and started going to the gym every day. All of those things that prepare your body to be successful.
Heston, what's up, man?
How's it going? This is a new view for me.
I know. So, first of all, Heston, how sick is the Ondar studio?
Oh, it's the best.
What's your favorite item in here?
Probably the laptop case, but also the phone case with the magnetic. It's just, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Yeah, their stuff is pretty cool, man. It's hard not to love it. It's like you can't find this quality like phone cases. They have so much more than phone cases. I mean, they've got like these duffel bags. I don't even call them. How do you call that a duffel bag? It's a leather.
I think they call it a travel bag.
Yeah, it's too swanky. And these backpacks that are like laptop bags. Obviously, they're hats. The laptop cases are super cool.
Got
but
like
the phones, I've got
fanny packs behind you on the wall.
The phone case too, but they're high end. They're very nice.
Very good leather.
Anyway, I think it's super cool in here, and really grateful to these guys for letting us do the podcast out of their showroom here. And this is kind of a fun one because a little bit impromptu.
Yeah.
And so for the audience that doesn't know, so Heston is the man behind the scenes. So the camera work, the mics, the lighting. You've sat through probably 30 of my episodes now. Yeah. And I talked to a lot of different people, lots of different backgrounds, lots of different stories. And you and I get to like chit chat a little bit here and there. And we know a little bit about each other just from the small like interactions we have carrying this stuff in and out of your car and all that when we set it up. But we've never done a deep dive.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the Generational Health Podcast, brought to you by Hiva.
Yeah. Happy to be here.
Why don't you just tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from?
Yeah.
Where you're raised, your family, wife, kids.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah. So I'm Heston, husband, father, of 3, a 10-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old.
Boys, girls?
Boy, girl, boy. So my oldest is a boy, youngest is a boy, and then the middle's girl. And grew up in Queen Creek. Not many people can say that. I moved out here in 2000 when I was 8. We used to live in Apache Junction, but we moved out to Queen Creek when there was nothing out there. And now came back after going to school and everything. Went to BYU, Idaho. Got my degree, and I work in tech. So I'm an IT person, I guess you could say. Traveled to offices and help with IT things, and also a production manager for a couple podcasts. And so that's me in a nutshell, I guess.
Sweet. All right. So how old are your kids again?
10, 6, and 2.
Okay. So you got a little one at home too.
Yep.
You done having kids?
No, I think we'll have one more. My wife's
Does your
convinced
wife know
me
that?
to
Okay.
have one more.
I was gonna say,
I
do you
was
have plans
done
to-
after this one. I was done, and I'm like, I don't know if we can do it, but she's convinced me. I like having the little ones, not so much when they grow up. They're crazy.
So you
they
like
get
the,
into
you
everything.
Like the baby stage.
I like the beginning stage.
Yeah.
That's what gets me. But they're the best. They're the best things that have ever happened to me, for sure.
Yeah. So we're done having kids. We've been officially done having kids, if you know what I mean, for a while. But I have these moments where, man, I really miss having babies.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, I could do another, even though I know we are at capacity.
Sure.
We
You have 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know our family is the right size for us. I grew up, there were 3 kids in my house growing up. I'm the oldest of 3. My wife is from a family of 5 kids. So I kind of always thought we'd meet in the middle and have 4. Because I thought 4 was like a huge family, 4 kids and 2 parents. It's like, okay, we can all fit in a car, all that kind of stuff. And then, we had 4. So we had 3 boys. And then we had our girl. And I remember my wife, after we had our 3rd boy, and it took us a while to get our first, by the way. So we did have some fertility issues with the first one. It took a while. We were in Houston, and we got referred over to this really good fertility clinic and worked with those guys and got pregnant actually fairly quickly once we started working with them. And it's like we didn't know if it was going to take a long time to get number 2. And then she got pregnant really fast with number 2. So they're really close in age.
Mm-hmm.
And then it happened again. It's like we figured out how to make babies. It's crazy. And so then we pumped the brakes a little bit. And my wife was always saying how badly she wanted to have a girl. It's like, well, you can't really control those things, It's like, we don't know. And it's like, well, we are not going to try for a 4th unless you're totally happy having a 4th boy, because like, you better be ready for a 4th boy, because chances are it's going to be another boy. For 3 boys in a row, plan on a boy. We had a girl. So I thought, all right, this is it. Like, she's going to be the caboose, it's the last one. And then life changed a little bit, and it wasn't our last one. So no, it was kind of one of these things where I thought we were done for sure. I was just like, I got my little daughter. It's like, and you have one girl, so for girl dads, like, it's a little different when you have a girl. And I always just thought, oh, okay, like, this is it. This is our family. I was pretty much set on that. And then my wife announced one night that she was pregnant, and I was kind of like, excuse me, what? And we hadn't really done any major things, vasectomies and other things like that, to ensure that we weren't going to get pregnant again. So maybe deep down thought there could still be a chance we'd have another baby, but I really thought 4 kids and we were done. And I was kind of panicking. I was not super pumped after we found out we were having a 5th. And then it kind of grew on me a little bit, pretty fast, actually. It was within like a 36-hour period. I was just like, okay. And I was like, oh, this is meant to be.
Yeah.
And then, dude, my wife had a miscarriage after that. And I was so sad.
Yeah.
And that was the moment I knew. I was just like, we're having another one. Maybe it's not right now. Maybe it's a while down the road.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I knew like how I felt. We were going to have another one. So anyway, she ended up getting pregnant a couple months later. And now we've got our little Benjamin, caboose, Benny.
Yeah.
So it's kind of wild how that all works out. So anyway, excited for you to have a 4th
soon, at some point. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
My wife has always also been open to potentially adopting like a special needs child as well. She did a lot of caretaking for a special needs child. One of her really good friends has a Down syndrome son, and she's just fell in love with him, and she would be a great mom to a Down syndrome or a special needs child. And I that could be a fifth. I don't know, but we've also looked into that being a potential option if the opportunity ever came up. But we'll see.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I think our wives are similar. So, my wife did a lot of charity work with a group of Down syndrome kids, and just fell in love with them. I mean, the coolest freaking kids. They are so cute and so fun, and they're so loving.
They will love you forever.
Oh my gosh, they're the
forever.
best. I love them. And we always felt kind of the same way. Like, what a blessing that would be, and also pretty selfless too. Is like someone that's wants to go in and have someone come join your family that way. And we've got we have friends and family that have adopted kids. It's been a huge blessing.
Yeah. They're your forever friend. I mean, they'll be with you forever, and they'll be your friend forever.
Yeah.
So
they're the best.
why not, right?
Yeah.
So that's always an option, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
Well, cool, man. Well, I know that we've had some small chats about kind of just like your own personal journey as a man.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear a little bit about it. I know we're both connected to some of the same people, and I know that there's been some groups, levels, and other things that have made a huge impact in your life. I'd love to hear just kind of about like where you were and like how you've gotten to where you are today.
Yeah.
With some of the stuff in between that's happened, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Kind of to take me back to a time where I wasn't happy, didn't have, much brotherhood or friendship. I was really struggling, not only mentally, but physically. I was extremely overweight. I wasn't, taking care of my body. And
when was this?
I would say probably about 4 years ago was when it was really bad. And I had finished school, got a job after school, which, at the time it was a great job. It got, I paid the bills, it supported the family, it, put a roof over our heads. But there was always that I wasn't progressing, and I think a lot of that was my mindset to a lot of things. Like, I wasn't good enough. I'm not smart enough to be making more money. I'm in a spot where I finished school, which I was the first one in my family to ever get a degree. My parents never got a degree, my brothers, my sisters, nothing. So that felt really good. That was an accomplishment, but it was like, okay, that's it. Now I'm going to get a job and I'm going to stay there the rest of my life. And I'm, it was kind of like a window or a door was in front of me from the way that I grew up and the way that I was raised of, get a good job, stay at that company and just live, you know what I mean? And never really progress. It was until 3 years ago or so when I met Tyler Hall. His wife and my wife were starting to become friends and talking, and we would go to their house periodically. And I took him to lunch to see if I could get some business advice because I was wanting to start my own company, but I didn't know how to do it. And honestly, at that time, probably didn't have the confidence to do it, and it probably wouldn't have succeeded. But he invited me to the Levels retreat. So Levels is a brotherhood or a group of men who basically are there to support each other, to lift each other up. And he was doing a Levels retreat, which was like a 3-day retreat in Sedona. And that retreat was, and I'll share some of the experiences I had there, but it was probably one of the most life-changing experiences I've ever had in my life. Primarily the breath work. Have you ever done breath work?
No, I've talked to people about it on this podcast. I've researched it, but I've never gone through guided breath work with someone that knows what they're doing.
Yeah. So I hadn't either. I thought it was crazy. Like, this isn't, my mindset, of course, at the time. This is crazy. I'm not going to get anything out of this. And so we're in Sedona with 20 other men, and we're all, laying on the floor, and the breathwork guide is put on music and is walking us through this breathwork journey. Telling you what type of breath to do at a certain time and when to slow down and when to speed up and when to hold your breath. And so there's a lot of things that she's guiding you through. And I had this vivid experience of myself meeting my younger self. I want to say probably like between like 7 and 8 years old. And during this journey, I was able to wrap him in my arms and tell him that he's enough. And it was the most healing, and because I'd never, a lot of times I'd never felt that I was enough. Of course, I have a family, they love me, but we don't, as a family, we don't wear our emotions on our, like we don't show that type of emotion where that can hinder certain feelings, especially as you grow up. I just never felt like I was enough. And coming out of that breathwork journey, it was incredible to be able to have that feeling of, you know what, you are enough. You can do these things. You can change your life and provide more for your family than just what you're currently doing. And so it was like that wall was broken and I was able to break through it. And it was all through that experience with the Levels retreat. And it was amazing. So since then, I was 270 pounds. And since then, lost 50 pounds and started going to the gym every day and doing the sauna and, sunlight in the morning, all of those things that prepare your body to be successful. So in doing that, as I started hanging out with Tyler more, starting this studio business that we run together, things just kind of were slow for a while up until honestly the beginning of this year, just a few months ago. I was given the opportunity to transition to a new position with a new company, which, even when I told my parents that I was doing that, they're like, whoa, are you sure? Like, instead of being like, oh, that's awesome, it was more of like, you have a good job. It's a secure job. Are you sure you want to take the chance on this? And I'm like, I've never been more sure in my life. I'm not getting up at 3:30 in the morning anymore, driving to Phoenix for an hour, going to bed at 8 o'clock at night. And, just that whole roller coaster of not getting enough sleep, not getting, not taking care of my body. It took a toll on me, which eventually caused me to have 2 grand mal seizures a couple years ago. One of them happened while I was at work. I collapsed in my chair and woke up in the hospital.
So when you say grand mal, like were you shaking, seizing? Yeah. Is that what they told you?
Yeah. So I was sitting at my desk and the person that sits in front of me, I guess I was making some sort of like wailing sound, like I was crying. And he like looks back, he's like, "Are you okay?" And from this moment on, I was actually on the phone with my wife at the time. I called her. Her cousin is a foot doctor and he was making custom insoles for me. So that's one thing I do remember is I was on the phone telling her that, and then she hears me wailing on the phone and she's like, what are you doing? What's going on? From that point on, I don't remember anything until waking up in the hospital. But supposedly it was 12 minutes long. I was seizing for 12 minutes, laying on the floor. My brother came in because he worked at the same company as me. He came in and they helped me on the floor, and I was just seizing for like 12 minutes. They called an ambulance. The ambulance came and picked me up, took me to the hospital. I don't remember any of that. Woke up in the hospital. Actually woke up in the hospital to Tyler and my dad. And they ended up, giving me a blessing and making sure that I was okay. Tyler waited in the parking lot. Tyler, how his schedule is. He's always busy. He always has meetings. He always has things he has to do. And it was a true show of friendship from him that he literally dropped everything, drove to Phoenix, sat in the parking lot, waited for me to get out, followed us home, bought dinner, chilled at our house with me for the rest of the night, and just like was there for me. And that was kind of the turning point of, wow, that's a true friend. You know what I mean? Like I've never experienced that. Of course I have brothers and there's friendship there, but it's that level of support and brotherhood that I've never experienced. And that's what's in turn changed my life.
That's pretty awesome, man. Friendship is a lot more important, I think, than people realize. And it sounds like in the beginning of your journey, like you were saying, you felt pretty lonely. You didn't really have anybody. And maybe it was just, you were busy just trying to grind it out and build a life and all that stuff. And you sort of sometimes we isolate ourselves in our careers and other things. And, just like anything else, relationships, whether it's a marriage or whether it's our buddies from high school or whatever else, they require like nourishment, and if we don't do that, they'll die off. And man, I can be so much better with my relationships, but at our company, we kind of like we've framed everything to be kind of like under 4 pillars. I call them the 4 pillars of resilience, human resilience. And it's kind of like in my Instagram link, you can actually like download a guide that I uploaded in there that I wrote. And these 4 pillars really stem from like your metabolic health. So you losing weight and, getting right and the sunlight and all that stuff, like getting your metabolic health straight.
Yeah.
The second pillar is around hormone optimization. There's so many things in our environment that can disrupt that and how we balance that out. And that you kind of mentioned sleep and other things. And then the third pillar stems into longevity. So there's a lot of things we can do to like, I'd call those more like metabolic enhancements. So once you become kind of like metabolically stable, healthy, hormones are balanced, then you have like these metabolic enhancements, peptides and other things like that are kind of unique and they're big game changers. Yeah. But the fourth big pillar is community. It's relationships. Yeah. Like that is a longevity biohack. Being lonely, being isolated is like super dangerous. And it's crazy just how relationships, they put years on your life. Like when you have good quality relationships, you can lean into that and they're healthy. It is actually like a measure of someone's happiness is whether or not they have people like that in their lives that will do that for them. Yeah. That's awesome. And I think like with levels, kind of going back to levels, I just barely got involved. And so I'm just barely starting to learn about it. That's why I'm like excited to talk to you about it on here as well. Cause I think it's really an interesting concept. I think there's a lot of men out there that do feel a bit isolated, even with their friends that they're close with. Yeah. Can they really be vulnerable?
Yeah. It's like a surface level friendship. Hey, how's it going? Let's hang out. Let's go to dinner. But it's not sitting down and actually having a conversation and leaning into each other if you need it, and that's where a lot of men struggle. I mean, look at suicide rates. I mean, they're skyrocketing in men because they don't have that brotherhood, they don't have that, that community that they can turn to if they're having those thoughts, so that's kind of was the dream with Levels was we need a community of strong men. I mean, particularly fathers who are going through their lives and not having someone to turn to, and being a resource to be that person to turn to if they need it.
Well, and it's interesting. You said strong men, but it's almost like you need a mix, because I'm not saying a mix. I'm not saying people are weak, but there's times in our lives where we go through weak moments.
Yeah.
Where you need strong men to lift you up when you can't lift yourself up.
Yeah.
And then there's other times where you might be in a good spot and you have the capacity to lift somebody else up when they can't lift themselves up. Because life is a roller coaster. And we should mention that Tyler's podcast is called the Roller Coaster Podcast. Yeah. So if you should look it up. He does a great job. He interviews a lot of people with crazy stories, lots of trauma, lots of this, lots of that. And he's a very good interviewer. But life is a roller coaster. And sometimes that's what's hard is I think we get stuck in the grind. And we forget that hey, I'm doing okay. There's a lot of people that are not. How can I help them?
Yeah.
Now, because
how can I pour
there's
into
going
them?
to come a time where I might not be in this good of position.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to lean into somebody. I might have at random a seizure in the middle of my workday. Who's going to be there for me?
Yeah.
You know? So that's pretty special. That I think it's pretty special. And I think it's actually kind of rare to have a friend like that.
Yeah.
Says a lot about him and a lot about Levels, the movement there, and what the group is trying to create too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It is amazing. It's been life-changing for me.
Yeah.
It completely flipped my paradigm, basically my thought process, the way I view things. And, instead of viewing it as, why is this happening to me? I view it more of how can this help me grow this situation?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the seizure that I had was terrible, but also did it give me perspective in what I need to do to change my life,
Mm-hmm.
versus continuing in the same pattern that I've lived in the rest, my whole life, for the last 7 years that I was working.
I think he said one of the most relatable things though too prior, when you were at the retreat, which I think unlocks most people's fear, and that is not being enough. You mentioned you had that kind of that moment, which I have heard too, going with breath work. I interviewed Melissa Methvin,
mm-hmm.
and she's big on breath work, and that helped her get through her husband's suicide and everything. And, and she found it to be incredibly spiritual. So she felt like it helped her become closer to God and to the spiritual side of things, that helped her get through all that, which I think is really interesting. That's why I really want to explore breath work. I keep saying that. I just haven't done anything about it. And to be honest, I don't even know where to go to. So I need to figure that out. But
go to, I think her name's Jen in Utah, Tyler's girl.
Is there anything local here though, that we could just pop in and they do a breathwork class or something?
I don't know about here, but she has a studio in Utah that she does breathwork out of. But Tyler periodically will fly her out to do a big breathwork journey. We've done it twice now here.
Okay.
So next time that happens, I'll let you know.
Please do. And we should get her information, and I'll add it to the bottom of this so that if you want to find her or whatever.
Yeah. But she's amazing. She's incredible.
I've heard a lot of people find that it's almost in a way, spiritual, even a little bit psychedelic, because you do kind of have these
visions type thing.
Almost things that seem very real like that. But when you said that you hugged your younger self and said that, you are enough, I can relate to that big time as just a dad and a husband. I think that unlocks one of my biggest insecurities, is, the why behind all the activity that we do and the things that we do and the grind, the schooling, the jobs, the this, the that. Is I think for most of us that are providers, husbands and fathers specifically, I just think it's I think that is a man's biggest fear of not having a big enough house, not having nice enough cars, not making enough, not being fit enough or good looking enough,
Yeah.
or the list goes on, right? I think just not being enough is so scary that you're afraid the people that love you the most, in our case, I would say probably our spouses or and our kids, that they would not think that we were enough.
Yeah.
But in your case, I thought it was interesting that the person that you saw in your vision was yourself. Because I think it's not my wife doesn't think I'm enough. My kids don't think I'm enough. It's I'm telling myself I'm not enough.
Those insecurities, they can eat you up inside. And they did for years and years for me. You know, of course I have a great life, you know, a great family, a beautiful wife, amazing children, but not a lot of self-worth. And that was probably, and the funny thing is, like, going into the breath work, I never even thought that that would pop into my head, that I would even go to that situation. And that's what I think made it so healing, was that it was a genuine, almost like a thought in the back of my mind that I didn't even know I had. And once it came up and was done, it was incredible.
So what do you think caused or led to you having seizures?
Yeah, so I think it was I think it was me. So for work, I was an IT manager for an aerospace engineering company in Phoenix. Their hours were 5 a.m. to 3:30. It's an hour and 10-minute drive from my house because I live in Queen Creek. They're in Phoenix. So it was up at 3:45 to work for a 10-hour day. Not even coming home most days and going straight to Tyler's house to build businesses together, you know, building our studio business, building, you know, a number of other things that we were trying to really hustle to kind of get me out of that position. You know, the goal was to build something up so that I could replace my daily income with the job and quit and do that full time. So doing that day after day after day, 5 days a week, I think it just finally took a toll on me. I had one seizure and then 2 months later had another one. Got on medication, was on medication for 2 years, and I haven't been on medication for the last 5 months, and I've been.
Did they do like did they investigate to see if it was neurological or not?
Yeah.
And did they find anything?
Yeah, they did every scan. I did the MRI. I did the one, I don't even know what it's called, where they put the thing on your head and they have you go to sleep to see if you're, you know,
it's an EEG.
Your EEG, I think is what it's called. See if your brain does something weird while you're sleeping. We did all of that, every test that you could do to figure out what it was, and they just said it could have been stress related. It could have been anything. You know, the way they explained it was really interesting. Was everyone is prone to seizures, but their threshold is at a certain level. So my body went below that threshold, and then I had a seizure. So it's more of that baseline. My body went to that baseline and toppled over it and caused my body to have a seizure. It's not necessarily that I have, you know, that I'm prone to seizures, but it's just I think I just overstressed my body.
No, I actually know this scenario very well.
Because your wife, right?
That's why I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I might actually have her come on one time and tell her side of it, and I can tell my side of it because it freaked me out. But the body is fascinating. Yeah. The brain is interesting and it's complicated. The brain is like super hard. We've had some other autoimmune issues with my mom and some other things, and it's like the most mysterious thing is the brain. Like there's so many unexplained things. But the one thing that made a whole lot of sense to me with the whole seizure thing was the body will find a way to slow you down.
Yeah.
If you're not doing it, if you keep overstressing the system, it will do a hard reset on you if you don't do it yourself. That's what I learned from it.
Yeah.
Because my wife was kind of in a similar situation. You know, I think it was post our last baby, and, you know, again, I'll tell that story another time, but there were so many things that because they initially are going to check to see if it was neurological, right? To see if it was epileptic and all that. But then they eventually got to it. They're like, well, we can't really like pinpoint the exact thing. So we are labeling it a non-epileptic seizure. Hers were not grand mal. Hers were basically like, she would sit there, her eyes would be open, but she would be completely gone, not shaking or anything, couldn't talk, didn't know what was going on. It was almost like she just zoned out. And one of them was pretty dramatic. She ended up having 3 of them, never got on any medication, and hasn't had one for a very long time.
Yeah.
Very long time. So, but the whole point was that we could see like how when we let some of life's stresses, even other people's problems, when you take on other people's stuff, and how that can and then you pile on lack of sleep, you pile on potentially poor nutrition, or dehydration. You're doing all of these things that are slowly just telling your body like, if I don't shut this down, something bad's can happen. Yeah. So it's actually like a protective mechanism that our body does. Seizures are actually
reset button.
Yeah. Seizures actually are like saving your life, essentially. And it forces you to stop, and it forces you to slow down. And you probably remember this very well too, is that after your seizure, how tired were you for the next month?
Exhausted.
Like it forced you to rest. There's nothing you could do about it, right? Yeah. You have it. And then like probably for weeks you were just feeling like couldn't do anything.
I felt like I got hit by a truck. I was so sore. My whole body was just achy. I slept a ton and just, it's pretty crazy. The body's a wild thing.
Yeah. So it's like my point, right? It's like, don't put yourself in a position where that is going to happen, because it will happen. Yeah. If you're trying to like, it's great to grind. It's great to just like work hard. It's great you got these, these 4 a.m. soldiers on Instagram. They're just like, I get up at 4 because, I get more stuff done before anyone wakes up. It's like awesome. But if you're going to bed at midnight and waking up at 4 every single day or whatever, like eventually that and maybe everyone's threshold is a little different. Some people have the ability to do that for a while, but I have actually heard of these non-epileptic seizures more and more and more. I think it's becoming more common, actually. Mm-hmm. I think people are overstressing themselves to the max. And I think a lot of it is in here too. It's not just our physical activity. I think it's the mental games of worry and anxiety and depression and stress and all those negative things that you were feeding yourself to. I think that all leads to that.
And I think it was a lot of like taking on other people's too, mm-hmm. I would never say like my wife, it's not that she wasn't like proud of what I was doing, but I was creating that narrative in my head that she wasn't, you know what I mean? And so like I was trying to build a studio business and all of this stuff and change my position where I'm at, and it wasn't happening in the time frame that I wanted it to. So it felt like I was letting her down, and that was also another stress that was put onto it. And it was just this compounding thing, and my body just said, you need to stop. And then by doing that, I was able to work from home for 6 months because I couldn't drive. And so it was kind of a blessing in disguise of I was able to slow down, set my priorities, work on other things, and now I'm where I am today, and not getting up at 3:30 in the morning or 3:45 in the morning anymore. I'm going to the gym in the morning and just, living the life.
That's awesome, man. Well, that's good. It's when you told me that you were 270. I almost said 60. I didn't want.
270.
Lose the 10 pounds. I was actually pretty dang surprised. I mean, you're tall and you're naturally just like a big dude, but 270 is big. I never would have guessed that.
Yeah. And that was,
So what is Levels doing now? So that retreat was a couple years ago. Like, do they have anything going on? I've been a part of some of the like the weekly calls and stuff. I know that they've been putting on other people that have done certain things, or they've got certain expertise, or they've just got really good perspective, almost like these mini little like trainings that they've held on weekdays, and it's open, it's free.
Yeah,
it's free to anybody, any man that wants to get involved in this. We can also drop a link in there to get started.
Levelsmovement.com.
Levelsmovement.com.
LVLS.
Yeah. LVLS.
Movement.com.
And we can put a link in there too. But what's kind of the game plan right now?
Yeah, I think we're trying to figure it out. You know, it was going to be every other week calls. But with life and things, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to figure out a day that we can do that every other week. You know, if it's a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Saturday, you know, life just happens. We're actually potentially in development of doing our own application to where you can join the Levels movement. You can go into the application. It'll have all of the resources. Tyler will do short videos that we can upload onto there. So we're still trying to figure it out. The community is still there. There's a Discord channel where people can communicate with each other and talk and, you know, share their experiences that they're having or their struggles. You know, recently Tyler asked, how's everyone doing? Like, rate your mental health on a scale of 1 to 10. And people were extremely honest. You know, me right now, I'm doing really well. So I said I was around a 9 because I'm feeling really good right now, physically, mentally. But there were several that were 3s or 4s. And right when they posted, tons of other men are like, you got this. You know, we all go through things. We're here for you if you need it. And it was just this really cool interaction of having that support. And that's kind of what we want, you know. We want it to grow in a way of not requiring a call every 2 weeks. We want the community just to thrive. And so we're still trying to figure it out. It's still kind of in the new stages. I know that we're still contemplating doing more retreats. But we haven't pinpointed if that's something we want to do yet. But
okay.
But it's still growing. It's new, but I mean, we'll all grow together with it.
I think it's a cool concept, and I know it's probably it's hard to get to your point, like the time. I don't know, like everyone's schedules are kind of crazy, but at the same time, like I think it's also interesting because there's something to like men being able to go hang out with their and women. Like, so my wife having girlfriends away from me is so much different and therapeutic than me and her having similar conversations. Yeah. It's needed. These friendships are needed away from the marriage.
Yeah.
And I would say the same thing for guys too, like having, whether it's a group like Levels or even just your buddies, to have kind of that time together, to be not like I don't know, just to be a different version of yourself there, because I do think that everywhere we go, we are kind of a unique version of ourselves.
Yeah.
When I'm at home with my kids and my wife, I'm a very authentic version of myself, but it is a version of myself that's different than the work me, than the CEO me, than the church me, or the, you know, group date night me. Like, it's just, we are lots of different versions of ourselves, and I think they're all important. But there's something incredibly like important about this whole concept of having kind of a group of individuals, you know, that, you know, men or whatever. And I was talking to Trevor Nichols too on the podcast, who's been part of this whole thing as well. And you know, and he had some really good insights in that podcast about how he schedules time during his week on his calendar to reach out to his friends.
Yeah.
I thought that was freaking amazing. And I'm like, wow, that shows how, because our schedules are just bonkers, right?
Yep.
But he puts it in his calendar, from this time to this time, I'm going to reach out to this friend or this friend this week. And
Yeah.
the next, just to make sure he's like cultivating those relationships because they're that important to him. And he knows that it's an important part of his life.
Yeah.
And so I know that levels can kind of be that for some of us, and some of us have good groups of friends, but other of us get stuck in a situation like you were a few years ago where you felt like, man, I don't have anyone to lean on, and
Yeah.
I'm just kind of going at this and I feel like I'm by myself, and that's not fun, man. That's
No,
not
it's not.
fun. And that's not really happiness either. So there's a lot of good guys out there and women that I don't know that are there that can be there to help kind of lift us up when we're kind of in rough spots. So anyway, I think that's the whole point of levels is just being there as a community so that we can kind of bear each other's burdens a little bit,
pour into each other.
And it's kind of crazy because you're strangers too. So, and these strangers are willing to like drop anything and help you out, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, the retreat we did was, I think 15 to 20 people I had never met in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And now I still talk to several of them, all the time.
Yeah. That's
Reach
cool.
out to them, see how they're doing, see them periodically now.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them were out of state, but we still, we still have like a group text that we text each other on and share wins and things like that. So
that's cool. Well, what should we be talking about? What's like,
this is your podcast.
I know. What should we be talking about? Well, I guess this episode kind of filtered into men's health a bit, I think.
Yeah.
What would you, I'm going to ask you some awkward questions.
Go for it.
What are you most proud about yourself?
I'm proud of the dad that I'm becoming. The last few years have been stressful and, burdensome. And I think my family's felt that, especially my kids. It was, being in a position that I was in, I would take things out on them when they weren't the issue. And just over the last few months, I've been able to really focus on them and not myself. And it's helped my marriage. It's helped my relationship to my kids. It's just helped in every aspect to be able to be the dad that I want to be.
So what does that look like?
Just being there for them, waking up and them seeing me at home and being able to take them to school, pick them up from school. Today I've never been able to do this. Before school, my son's like, "Hey, can we go down to the retention basin and you throw some balls to me so I can hit him with my new bat?" I'm like, "Sure, yeah, let's go." So we were able to throw, and I threw a bunch of pitches to him and he was hitting them. And it's just, I've never been able to do that because it's work. I'm home. I'm exhausted. by the time I get home, it's getting dark and sorry. And then there was always excuses on my end because I'm exhausted. But now it's like I have this freedom of, let's go do that, or let's go get it. Just the ease of my schedule has made it to where I can be the dad that I want to be.
So you created that though. You created the schedule. You created this new freedom that you have.
Yeah.
And it took a bit of grinding and time to do that.
It did.
There's a lot of guys out there that are probably listening to this thinking like, well, I would love to do the same thing, but I can't do that. I still have to get up at this time. I'm gone before my kids get up. I don't have time to take them to school in the morning because my boss makes me be to work at this time, or I'll lose my job or whatever else. So what kind of a message would you have for someone that doesn't feel like they have the time to be able to take their kids to school or pick them up, or in the middle of a work day, go hit, baseballs with them?
I mean, it goes back to the breath work. You're enough. You can do it. I mean, you can if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. And I didn't believe that for a long time, but putting my mind to something really, and the situation that I'm in isn't one that I was building. Do you know what I mean? It's just a situation that showed up, and now I'm in this new position and still building other companies and working. I still contract with the company that I was working with to do their IT stuff, but I'm not bound to a schedule every week. But that's not a situation that I ever thought I would be in. But because I was doing other things and trying to build other things, these opportunities came in. And that's the key is don't give up because something isn't working. And I got discouraged. It was a year to 2 years of me grinding on thing after thing after thing, expecting it to grow and expecting it to be what I want it to be. And it wasn't. But that's okay because it opened the door and gave me the ability to be presented with this situation, so don't give up. If it fails, try again. Do it with something else. The best things in life are the things that you fail at because they open the horizons for other opportunities in your life.
Well, I think what you described was momentum. And some people will ask, I've listened to some other really cool podcasts about like startups and new businesses and stuff. And at the end, they always ask, well, do you chalk this up to hard work or luck? And every founder of any big successful company will say there's a lot of luck there, but luck happened because I didn't give up.
Yeah.
And you just led into that momentum. You just kept doing things and trying things. You just didn't stop. And, even though stuff didn't work and this didn't work, you just kept whatever. And you probably also had a desire to create this freedom that you're now experiencing. And I think there's just going back to people that are feeling stuck in a situation or, it's kind of like the gym or really anything else. If you value it and it's really important to you, you can find a way.
Yeah.
And no one is stuck. Like we all have this amazing freedom to go out and become the individual we want to become. And I love that you use that word about becoming the dad that you want to be, because it's all about just progress, right? And so I think if people feel stuck, and I have certainly felt that way in the past about different things, but just keep going because there is a path to get exactly what you want. But you got to do some uncomfortable things to make it happen, but it can certainly be worth it. So,
yeah. A couple of years ago, I never would have thought I'd be on a podcast.
Hey, now you're on
and now I'm filming them and now I'm
biggest podcast in the world. This one.
See, that's it though. That's thinking,
we're just bringing it in. Hey, it's
just
the law of attraction.
You're manifesting. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, the law of attraction. I just, you say it and it eventually will become true.
And that is true though. I mean, with a lot of things, you say it and it can be true.
Well, the only reason I want this podcast to be big is because I think we have some really cool messages I want people to hear. I don't sit and like fret over followers and how many people are following the podcast. But what gets me so freaking pumped is when strangers walk up to me and say, "Hey, I listened to your episode on this or that, and it was so good. Thank you." Like I really related to that. I'm like, seriously, like nothing means more to me.
Yeah.
I had I got to pull this up because this was one of the nicest text messages I got. Do we need to go?
No, you're good.
Check out this text message. This is someone that owns another wellness clinic.
Mm-hmm.
Said, "I'm sitting with a guy that listened to your podcast. I wanted to let you know the conversations you're hosting on your podcast are making a difference in people's lives. Thanks for using your voice to create a ripple effect of healing for people." Dude, there's nothing that means more to me than that. That's why I'll keep doing this.
Yeah.
Because some stranger is telling this other person I know that they listen to the podcast and, and if it's having some impact, if this episode helps one person, then it's freaking worth it in my opinion. But, all right, Heston, last question. And this is just, I don't know, one that just popped in my head. Okay. What do you love most about Heston? This is a therapy session, Heston.
Yeah. What do I love most about myself? I'd say my work ethic. That's like one thing I value the most is my drive to figure anything out. I never say I can't do that. You know, it's, I that's one thing that I owe to my dad, teaching me a good work ethic, to never give up, always do what you say you're going to do, and work as hard as you can at whatever it is that you're doing. And that's kind of gotten me through a lot of this. So
Nice, man. That's a good one. I actually heard yesterday someone was talking about this. I was listening to, I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I was listening to the CEO at Uber talking about people and talking about like their culture and teams and like expectations. And of all the things, he said, teach yourself to work hard. And he said, wait, is that like a teachable skill, or is it just, he's like, no, you can learn it, but you got to learn to work hard. He's like, that's the most valuable skill you can get. There's all these other like things you can learn and whatever. He said, teach yourself how to work hard.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome, dude.
Yeah.
And I can attest you're a hard worker because I've seen it. you are.
Well, I appreciate it.
No, but no, this is a fun conversation. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Anything else?
No.
All
I
right.
think we're good.
Well, we've got a lot of fun ones coming up. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So thank you for helping make this awesome and special, and looking forward to hosting a few more people here in the coming days.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay,
appreciate
man.
it.
Thanks again.
Yep.